All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, December 7th, 2023. If you've not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets here today, up about 75 basis points on the spiders. Triple Qs are up just under 1.5, so decent day. They're doing the video a little early, so we got the live stream for members after the close. And right now we're pinned between 45.80 and 45.90 on the SPX, so I don't think we're going to see a break of that right now. Again, market kind of at this point I think is just waiting here on the non-farm payroll number. We did get jobless claims this morning. We can take a look here at the futures. Initially, there was a little bit of a dump. The number came in pretty much flat. Then we just kind of just surged up. So market's just kind of rallying right back. Yesterday, we talked about this trend line here on the spiders, but we gapped above it, right? So, and let me just cut the time frame down here. So again, that goes back all the way to Tuesday, the 14th of November. And you can see here, we traded through it. We gapped above it. We pulled back into it and then rallied, tested again, and now we're above it. So that damage has kind of been repaired to an extent. So definitely that needs to be made note of. And really right now, going into NFP, it's really a 50-50, right? I don't really have a bias one way or the other at this point. Technically, you can make a case that this is bullish consolidation there on the daily. If you look at the Qs, we did negate that green bar, but we popped right back up today. And again, that's the power of light volume. That's the power of seasonality in these markets. And that's why I said yesterday it's important for the bears to follow through. If they had broken us down and we closed below here today, then that would give me a very unfavorable look into NFP tomorrow, because even if you rally, now there's plenty of room for a lower high. But right now, it's kind of 50-50. And the same thing with the spiders. I talked about this level here. That pivot, there's a reason why it's marked 453.34. If we close below that today and subsequently the 20 moving average, I'd say tactical positioning is much weaker going into NFP, but it's not. So right now, we need to respect the market really on both sides here. One thing I did notice today is that the VIXY here is actually flat. So, and that's really been so all day, even during this big spike here. VIXY came down, but then it curled right back up and it's been holding up. This could just be event vol, so don't really make a ton out of that. The VIX is up 5 cents again with the Qs up 1.5. Normally that would tip my antennas, and it does still tip my antennas, but it could just be event volatility. Again, VIX being elevated ahead of a volatility event, which is the NFP. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's a vol crush tomorrow. So that certainly could be the case. If we do continue higher, this is now minor here, this pivot, that pivot right there. Let me use the SPX. I like that better. 46.07 is now minor, and I would say that you can get to 46.37. So that's going to be this pivot high here. That will be a major level. So that's a major psychological level for this market here. But right now, that's the big pivot. If we were to go up there and test that, if we were to break down, the 20 MA is minor. We've consolidated above it. It's not coming down from an extended place, so it is minor here. But 4,500 area would be your first level, and then of course, like I've said, down to the gap window and so on and so forth, down to 4,400. Not really seeing that much downside here right now. I think the market probably would have liked to have done it already. And then remember, next week we're going into OPEX too. Market, generally you want to give the market kind of a neutral bias going into that. So it's not very common that we see big declines during an OPEX week. But again, we'll see what we get here moving forward. Outside of that, again, so we talked about SPX there, the Qs. Again, if we come down, we take out this pivot on a close. You've got the gap right there, so that is your obvious next area. And then really, I mean, I'll just say 400, right? That's just, I'm not going to say the double top yet, but I'll say right around 400 would be an area on the upside if we were to really start to take off here. Qs are still a little bit weaker, right? We have more of a lower high setup here on the Qs versus the spiders, which have kind of made those slight higher highs there. So Again, just keep that in mind. But again, the Qs, they had that failure yesterday, but they popped right back up today, little gap and go, and no real problems here. So again, I'm just neutral here going into NFP for the most part. And that's the way that I think the best way to play it right now. IWM doing a little bit of repairing yesterday. We had a nice little reversal candle yesterday, but again, up 0.5% today. You can see here on the IWM, little dip negative, and then just kind of grinding higher for the rest of the day. No problems. If this consolidates, it will go higher. Again, I still have a target of 190 to 192 on this thing, and has not satisfied that head and shoulder target either. So that is still on the board. The Dow is the wild card here. Yes, you are putting in bullish consolidation inside bar there, but this is still, this is parabolic, right? This is just, it's still way overdone. It's unsustainable. So the Dow, I would say, again, there's nothing to say it can't go higher either, into 365, maybe double top, but just keep in mind that move is unsustainable. And when you start to consolidate, when you're that extended, a lot of the time it can fail. So just keep that in mind here. Again, downside target will be 355 if this even happens. But the Dow up 20 basis points today. And again, we'll leave it there. Semiconductors here today up 2.5. So again, nice reversal yesterday and then repairing everything right back above the 20 DMA. On the SMH, if we continue lower, again, we talked about 152 area. So that could be a potential downside target. But then look at the stocks here. Pull back into gap window. Nice reversal bar, but no follow through. So again, a little bit of a trap set up there yesterday. And a gap and go there. And semis look just fine right now. IGV here up another 0.5%. Again, I don't like the island. That's the one thing I don't like about the IGV. But again, on the weekly, this can just do weekly consolidation beneath this area, and I think it is okay right now, but it is still into resistance, and that needs to be respected for the time being. Dow Transports, again, just like the Russell up move, little pullback there. This is technically safe right now. You're above the inverse head and shoulder neckline, and as long as that remains, honestly, as long as you keep this bullish inside bar, I think this is fine, but this pattern is in play as long as you're above that neckline on a closing basis. Again, may need to see that moving average, that 20 DMA right there, catch up to price a little bit before it can run again. But, nice move for the transports, and again, they're hanging in there. All right, so let's take a look at, okay, there we go. Sorry, that's ETH. So let's look at interest rates here. So 2-year flat, you do have a bearish inside bar on the 2-year, and it is starting to mature a little bit. So that could favor lower prices here on the short end of the curve. Kind of a similar setup on the 5-year, although it is kind of extended from that inside bar. There's still a lot of support here on the 5-year, and even more so like right in here. So right in this zone, there's a good level of support on the on the 5. Twos, you got a little bit of a pivot down there, maybe even right around 4.4. I do continue to think that the long end is getting attractive here for a bounce play. That now, NFP comes out tomorrow and it blows out to the downside and the markets go into sugar high mode. Could we see yields spike down to that 200? It's certainly possible, right? It's just nothing to say we can't spike through a level. And again, today we did bounce, but we didn't really follow through. So we could get down there. At that point, I think, yields kind of get pretty attractive risk reward. Same thing with the 30-year. Could we spike down to 4.15? Yeah, certainly. It's not that far away. Nice trend line right there. But again, the short end here, definitely on the weaker side. But that long end, I do think that could be a tradable low here in the next couple of days, maybe, once we get through OPEX or something like that. But they are getting interesting down at this level. And we talked about the yield curves here the other day. They are starting to firm back up here just a little bit, but still got a long ways to go. One thing I find interesting here too is that, we're all pricing in the soft landing. But I tweeted this earlier today. Look at gasoline futures. Does this look like a soft landing to you? Let's look at a weekly here. What kind of pattern is that? That's just a massive head and shoulders, right? UGA, pretty good decline here. And the same thing with crude, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this doesn't look like soft landing stuff. Again, this is not something we're taking a trade off of until the market tells us it's time to do that. But just some little tidbit there moving forward. Anyways, XHB here, a little bit of a tail candle, possible topping tail yesterday, but I would like it a lot better if you had this kind of volume on it. I would feel comfortable saying that there's some type of a high in place. But today, just an inside day, still up 0.5%. And again, it's, at an all-time high, new all-time closing high here today as well. And we'll see if that, closes back below by the end of the week. It may need to do some pulling back, maybe into the 81, 82 handle there, but I don't see any real issues with home builders right now. VNQ also trying to digest this move. Again, we talked about this resistance level right here, and we're stalling out just beneath it. Again, this needs to do some more backing and filling, but VNQ trying to put in some consolidation there. And again, no real problems right now. XLF up 0.5%. Again, same thing. Resistance is right there. You can see it very clearly. Pullback is warranted, maybe to 35, maybe just until the moving averages catch up. KRE also holding trend here, no problems there. And the same thing with the KBE. These both can go higher if they consolidate. XPD also green, good tail candle yesterday. I still think this wants to get to 522. And then we'll go from there. It might not happen in a straight line. You might need to do some pulling back, but broker dealers hanging in there just fine. Crude up 0.25%. This is attractive down here. I did not pick up a play. I never quite got a buy signal on it. I was really hoping for a little bit lower, and hopefully we can get that in the next day or two here. But what I wouldn't want to see is, you don't want to see sideways to up. that would get me away from crude. But again, right now, we'll see what it does tomorrow. But it is getting very attractive here. I'd like to see one more little flush, some type of a panic dump, and then I would be interested in getting involved. XLE taking a dump as well, now below 82. Leave this alone, let it go lower. It's got some time. It's got a little ways to go. XOP is into the level. If you're aggressive and we're down tomorrow, a pierce of this, I can't fault you for taking a stab at it, but I don't really like it because we've got a bearish inside bar, and that's, it's just not a good risk reward for me because we've consolidated so much. So the trend line's okay, but don't expect much more than a couple day bounce on it. That's what I would say with that. So anyways, OIH here, slicing through 300 again. We consolidated above it, so it's no good. 290 could be a bounce. I like 280 a lot better though. CCJ pulling in just a little bit. Nothing terrible here, but just a little top heavy perhaps. Just basically just challenging this green bar low today. You'll see if it closes below that, maybe it has to retreat to 42. But again, we'll see what the weekly close tells us. That'll give us a lot more information, as this has just been a powerhouse play really all year long. URNM, well, really after the last half of the year, I should say. URNM here, flat for the most part today, but this can still go higher. You're doing weekly consolidation here, and that can get to double top and maybe higher in due time. Nat gas, so really flat right now. It did hit that 250 level, and then we got a little bit of a tail candle with volume. It's important for bulls to see follow through here. You did get into this level. So right there, like all those pivots right there, that's where the institutional money has stepped up really all year long. And we'll see if that ends up being a thing here today, but you need to see follow through here. For the bulls, next level would be around 280, and then a back test of 3 obviously would be your level after that. What you don't want to see is, again, same thing with crude. You don't want to see sideways here, because that's going to tell you it's setting up a base to potentially push through that big level. But again, nat gas, a little bit of a stall out there after the inventory report today. Dollar index here. So sitting at 103.52. So it did have a nice retreat today, and just kind of hovering right on that 200. There is room for a higher low here. I will say that, but pretty good outside move down for the DXY. I don't really have a good read on it at the current time. It could go, if it curls back up here, you could make a case that you're going to have a mini little inverse head and shoulders, and that could take you up into the 105, 106 area. But if this ends up not being able to make a lower or a higher low, then, you're going down to this trend line. So that's where I think it's going anyway. But either way, dollar retreating a little bit, but again, still just remaining neutral on that until it tells me to do otherwise. Gold here, a little bit of a nothing burger, just flat there. Don't do anything with it right now. Let the pattern play out. They sold this very hard for a reason, so it likely wants to test lower prices. Don't get in front of it until the market tells us to. Silver, this is interesting. If you're hyper aggressive, I like this for a drop in pop play. So extended move into the 20 moving average, you could get a bounce out of it, possibly back to 25. The issue I have with it is I wish that 50 moving average was above these moving averages. It could kind of go either way here, but again, if you're hyper aggressive and you're a gunslinger, you put a stop below 23.90 on a daily close, and you can see if it gives you a bid there. But that's really all I have for it right now. I think it needs to come down as well. Platinum, nice bid there, up 2%. Not convinced that local low is in. I think the macro low is in, but we'll see what kind of pattern this puts in. I do like platinum in this area though. Regardless, palladium, a little bit of a bounce there. Again, a long-term level. Copper, up 1 3/4, so they defended that trend line. Again, you're down big 3 days in a row, should get a bid. I really just want to see where this closes the week out before I really comment on it. Because if we fade tomorrow, we could have an engulfing candle like we did yesterday. But if we bounce up and we rip higher, we could have an inside hammer. And that tells me two completely different things on the weekly. One is very bearish and one is pretty bullish. So we'll see what copper does by the end of the week. But nice little bounce there for HG. Bitcoin's still holding up okay, so at 43.2, no problems. Again, it's still very overbought here. So you went from 25 to 43 in 1, 2, 3.5 months. So very big move here. Even though you could say like this was consolidation, we never really pulled back, right? It was just like we grinded up and then we just kept grinding up. It wasn't like an up move and then a pullback and then a continuation. So again, I still think it's just trading up into the spot ETF right now. We talked about 44K. It hit there and it's pulling back. It can still get to 48. ETH, that should get to 24. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Love that bull pattern there on a daily. Like this, I like way more than Bitcoin as I've like laid out, because it's a nice tight right angle, right? I like that. But 24, and then if it really starts to pump up, we look at like 28 here. But again, crypto hanging in there just fine. I still like Solana to 80. That pattern's actually pretty nice there. So we'll see what that gives us here in the next couple of days. But Bitcoin just stalling out there just a little bit. All right, again, lastly, let's flip back over here. So market's just hanging in there. So I think I told you 45.85 to 45.90. And we're sitting right at 45.86 right now. So again, tomorrow it's kind of a toss-up as to what can happen. They could take this down. They could take it up. It's really just a matter of, the market's already made its mind up, I'm sure, but it's just a matter of what the catalyst is going to be. We could go nowhere. We could just get stuck in a range through options next week. That is also very possible. So just be aware of that. But we are tightening up here, and the longer we remain in this range, the bigger the move is going to be when it comes. So just be aware of that here. But markets, just a quiet day here to the upside. Big tech remaining, or I should say, regaining some of its strength. But again, we'll see what that number gives us tomorrow. And as always, the weekly close will tell us much, much more about the true nature of the market. Anyways, guys, going to wrap up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.